JSPL 6 million ton Angul plant has come on stream. The power to steel major, which has been grappling with a pile of loans, has also submitted a debt recast plan to its lenders last month. Joining us to talk about this new facility and the overall outlook for the steel business is the company's Chief Executive Officer, N.A. Ansari. Mr. Ansari, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Let me start by asking for you to lay out for us what the current demand, supply and pricing scenario is in the steel business. The reason I ask is we've seen rapid jumps in iron ore prices. We've seen NMDC take price hikes. We've seen some logistics issues factor into higher prices of iron ore. What do you expect will be the impact on steel prices, and what's the demand supply outlook right now?
So let me start first with your last part of the question, which is the impact of the iron ore prices. In fact, it's not only the iron ore prices which have gone up very, very substantially, almost double in certain parts of this country, but also the coking coal prices have also been going up. So combined together, I think for most of the steel makers, this cost impact itself will be more than 2,000 rupees per ton. And going forward, I certainly expect that the prices of steel are going to go up because nobody can actually absorb all this cost. And but as far as demand of steel is concerned, last quarter, in fact, we do see some upward swing in the construction business in the country. And going forward next year, we do expect that all the initiatives which have been taken by the government are still being taken. That should start very clearly manifesting itself in higher demand for the construction grade steel. As you are aware, we are not only into construction grade, but also we manufacture the steel plates and some other products. And as far as plate demand is concerned, we find that it is remaining quite steady, and that's a fairly large business for us. And as far as construction grade demand is concerned, that's going to go up. So overall, we are quite positive that this cost impact will be actually absorbed by the market. And the steel plant should be looking for a reasonably good time as far as demand is concerned.
How much will your costs go up by on account of higher iron ore prices as well as coal prices, as you pointed out? And will you be able to pass all of it on to the steel consumer?
I would imagine that the prices will go up by about 1,800 to 2,000 rupees, depending on the route which people follow. And we do expect that these prices, since the demand is going to go up, most of it will actually be passed on to the consumers, because they won't be the steel plants will not be able to manage otherwise. So it is something which is bound to happen.
And what's the latest update on the Angul expansion, sir, on how that will boost your financials as well?
The Angul expansion, as you know, one of the most important milestone which we wanted to come to was commissioning of BOF furnace. And I'm very happy to tell you that last month, in fact about 10 days back, we have started our BOF furnace. And the entire process is going on quite smoothly. When you start a new process like this, it takes a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks to kind of stabilize. And we are in the process of stabilizing this. So we are very happy that we have started this. Now what is going to do is to help us in making sure that the entire complex, the integrated plant which is there already, should start working at full capacity. The blast furnace was running till recently only at about 50% capacity. Now we are in the process of ramping it up, and going forward in the next quarter, we do expect to reach almost the, let's say, 90% level of the blast furnace ramping up, blast furnace capacity. So we are it's a very, very important time for us, and we do believe that it's something which is going to help us tremendously in the coming months and the year.
Certainly hope so. Mr. Ansari, a couple of questions. The last time that I spoke with Mr. Naveen Jindal, about 2 or 3 months or maybe slightly longer than that ago, deleveraging was in full steam. What's the current scenario on the debt front that you can give us?
Yes, despite increasing the production level and despite adding the new facility and so on, I'm very happy to tell you that our debt level has not gone up. At the current scenario, we are fully current in the sense that there is absolutely zero overdue as far as payment is concerned. We are We have mapped our entire repayment schedule as well as the interest payment schedule, and we are quite confident that we can meet this entire thing. On top of it, in order to make the things even easier, we are still looking at, in fact, we are working on certain, let's say, assets which we can monetize. I mean, these assets are obviously the non-core assets that we are looking at, but right now I'm not really in a position to tell you that which assets and when, because that's all work in progress.
So I'm guessing there has been no misses on the interest front, and if you can also give me an update on what's the current debt to equity.
Yes, I mean the current debt equity is less than, I mean 2:1, roughly around in that range. We have a fairly good range here now, 2:1, and if you look at the interest, as I told you, that interest repayment is all on a schedule. Not only interest, but the repayment of the principal also is on schedule. So we are totally current as far as the repayment is concerned.
How many months has it been on schedule for, sir? Because there was some impression we got from banks a little earlier in the last year that suggested that you had missed a few months of payments. So when did you get back on schedule?
That's almost about 8 to 9 months that we really do not have any. I mean, once we went for that restructuring of the debt, and after that we took steps to make sure that we are totally current. So for several months now we are totally current.
Sir, I think the problem had come up in the manner in which that 525 restructuring scheme had been implemented, and we understand that the Reserve Bank of India, following the review of that restructuring scheme, had asked banks to classify you as an NPA. So are you technically classified as an NPA, and if you are, do you have any visibility of how quickly you'll come out of that classification, sir?
So you're absolutely right. There was a technical issue. The technical issue, we all are aware that by the time the 5/25 was completed, there were certain milestones which were crossed based on as per the rules. So it was only a technical issue. And all the banks are fully supportive of that. So therefore, we have already, there were one or two banks where this issue had happened. In one case, we have already come out of that. There is another case which is still pending, but we are sure to come out of it, because it was, it was not really a default by us. It is only a question of how much time was taken to completely restructure that 5/25. So that was the basis for this RBI action. And since the repayments are already done, the interest payments have already been done, so we are absolutely sure to come out of it.
So are you currently classified as an NPA or not, or has that classification been taken away, as Ira just asked?
No. Yes. In most banks, we are not classified as NPA in most banks.
In most banks, but there might still be.
There is only one question which with one particular bank, there are still some issues which are just getting resolved.
All right. Sir, I just had a couple of more questions on, you mentioned that there were certain asset sales that you were still hoping to do. While you might not be able to share with us what those specific assets are, at least you'll give us a sense of how much you hope to be able to deleverage over the next 6 months to 1 year. What is left more to do in terms of amounts?
See, let me tell you this. Let me share something. For example, if you look at Oman, we are looking at to kind of go to the public to sell some shares out of the Oman. But all this is going to take a little time. It's not something which is going to happen immediately in the next 6 months. So in the next 6 months, we don't really expect such actions which will be very substantial. There will be something smaller ones which would take place. But more important is that our ability to repay the debt and the interest is already very clearly identified based on the revenue which we expect to earn and the EBITDA which we expect to earn. We are absolutely sure that we will be able to meet that. And then going forward, maybe in a period of a year or little more than that, we should be able to come up and tell you that this is the action which we have taken.
Any further capex that you have planned in the months to come?
There is some balancing activity which is required. For example, there is something like coke oven battery which we need to put, so that is something which is part of that. But that's not really stopping our production. That is only supporting so that rather than purchasing certain item, we can start making on ore. our own. So that is something which is balanced, but rest of it is already done.
Sorry, I have one more question on production and sales. With Angul online, what will your total numbers look like by the end of this fiscal, sir, in terms of both production and estimated sales?
See, we expect that because of Angul in the coming quarter, in this particular quarter, that's quarter 4 of 18, we should be adding another 500,000 tons of steel in the market, and that's the one which we intend to produce and sell. And the majority of the impact we will have in 2019, and that of course our capacity will be much higher compared to what we have been doing. In 2019, we would expect that we should be combined together between India and Oman, we should be doing more than 8 million tons, somewhere around 8.5 million tons or so.
Mr. Ansari, one final question from my end. Any fundraising, equity fundraising that is slated to happen in the month of January or this current quarter?
Yes, there is something which is already on schedule, which we had promised to the banks that we will be doing that. So that process will be happening, and in fact that process is already on. We should be completing that between January and February, this additional fundraising.
But you would be happy with the current valuations, because Mr. Jindal had mentioned then that he was not happy with those valuations. He will be looking for higher valuations. You will be happy with the current valuations?
I'm sure you must be seeing how the stock market is reacting to our actions which are there yesterday, so we do expect the valuation to keep going up, and obviously nobody can be happy at at this level. We are already, the projections have been done. You must have seen the reports already, that what are the kind of projections which are there. So we'd certainly expect that to that to help us in getting that.
Sorry, I do want some final details actually before we wrap this up. And so that is, your current capacity is just over 6. You said you'd be at 8 million tons by the end of fiscal 2019, is it?
So let me explain. In Angul, our capacity would be about 5 million ton. In Raigad, it is more than 3.5. It's about 3.5 million ton. So the capacity itself will be close to 8.5 in India. Combine that with 2 million ton in Oman, so that will become 10.5 million ton. And so therefore, now since in Angul we will be in the ramping up stage, and in Oman and Raigad we already close to about 95-100% capacity. So therefore, we do expect that going forward in 2019, we should be able to do close to about 8 million plus, in fact 8 million plus.
Okay, the final question I have from my end, sir, and it is this, that in the steel sector right now, we're looking at considerable changes in the way the sector will play out over the next several months, because several important and large-sized assets might become available or are available through the NCLT IBC process. Now, you're obviously in no condition to be bidding for them, but many of your competitors are looking to bid for them and consolidate their positions, whether it's a JSW Steel or a Tata Steel, or even players like ArcelorMittal that are hoping to come into the market through some of these acquisitions. What is your analysis of how the steel competitive scenario will play out over the next 6 months to a couple of years?
So you are absolutely right. Most likely there will be a lot of consolidation in the steel business in India, because the same existing players or plus maybe 1 or 2 will come from outside. So therefore there should be substantial consolidation, and that should help the steel industry in general. The people who are very small players, they may have some issue, but for companies like JSPL, which are already having close to about 8 million ton in India and plus outside and so on. So we are also a very substantial player in that, and any consolidation which happens in steel business, I think is also going to help us in the long run. Now, you see, for example, the steel industry today, we have issues like iron ore prices going up very substantially. We also have issues with the logistical movement in the country, because there are still limitations in the country. So a consolidation in fact gives a better voice to the entire steel industry, and we should be able to work together as far as the infrastructure and other issues are concerned. So we actually look forward to that kind of consolidation, and we think that it will be a good thing for the Indian steel industry.
Well, that's an optimistic view. Thank you, Mr. Ansari, for joining us this morning. Appreciate you finding the time to speak with Bloomberg Queen.